The Kremlin is likely preparing the Russian population for unpopular decisions in the war against Ukraine. This is the conclusion reached by Z-propagandist of Russia, Daniil Tulenkov. He drew attention to two main warning signs of approaching de-escalation. The first is the toughening of US President Donald Trump's rhetoric towards the Kremlin, his ultimatum to end the war in 10 days. Moscow will not be able to ignore it. The second warning sign is the speech by Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, who unexpectedly declared that Russia has no allies in the war against Ukraine. The hardening of Mr. Trump's rhetoric, coupled with Lavrov's historic speech, are quite loud warning signs that the outcome may be closer than ever before. And it may be an unpopular decision, Tulenkov wrote. He particularly emphasized that Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov acknowledged for the first time Russia's de facto isolation in the international arena. Lavrov's speech about "for the first time without allies, we are fighting the entire West" is a de facto explanation for this unpopular decision, the propagandist noted. Such statements are not made by chance. In the conditions of military failures and foreign policy pressure, the Kremlin may try to get out of the war, hiding behind a sacrifice for the sake of peace. But inside Russia, any talk about defeat or mistakes will now be prohibited. I strongly recommend to refrain from all the Putin-slil, "why did we fight," etc. They will punish everyone for this harshly and without preventive talks. Tulenkov noted. He called on the audience to completely abandon any discussion of the Kremlin and to demonstrate maximum loyalty. The wisest decision now would be loyalty to any decision of the highest political leadership. Z-bloggers conducted a survey among readers about Russia's main enemy. The result shocked the propagandist. Z-propagandist fighter bomber conducted a poll among his audience about who they considered Russia's main enemy. The results were a real blow to the Kremlin propaganda. The most votes were not received by external enemies, but by its own corrupt officials. About 10,000 subscribers of the Z channel took part in the voting. To the question, who is Russia's main enemy, 27% of respondents chose the option corrupt officials. Another 21% voted for the item domestic fools. For comparison, only 2% of participants chose Ukrainians. 8% chose the United States and 4% chose NATO. These figures indicate deep disappointment in what is happening and a loss of trust in the government, even among those who previously fully supported the Putin regime and the war against Ukraine. After 3.5 years of full-scale aggression, Russian society is tired of the war and sees no prospects. Loyal audiences increasingly accuse the Kremlin of corruption, incompetence, and failure to achieve military goals. This poll became an indicator that propaganda is no longer able to keep even the most patriotic part of society in the usual paradigm of enemies from outside. Now Russians openly call the system built by dictator Vladimir Putin their main enemy.
Large numbers of Palestinians were seen carrying sacks of flour in Gaza City's Kyiv area on Wednesday. According to Associated Press, it comes as the leading international authority on food crises on Tuesday warned that the worst-case scenario of famine is currently playing out in the Gaza Strip, predicting widespread death without immediate action. The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, said Gaza has teetered on the brink of famine for 2 years, but recent developments have dramatically worsened the situation, including increasingly stringent blockades by Israel. Israel has restricted aid to varying degrees throughout the war. In March, it cut off the entry of all goods, including fuel, food and medicine, to pressure Hamas to free hostages. Israel eased those restrictions in May but also pushed ahead with a new US-backed aid delivery system that has been racked by chaos and violence. The traditional, UN-led aid providers say deliveries have been hampered by Israeli military restrictions and incidents of looting, while criminals and hungry crowds swarm entering convoys. Israel says there is no limit on how many aid trucks can enter Gaza. More than 60,000 Palestinians have been killed during the Israel-Hamas war, nearly half of them women and children, Gaza's health ministry said Tuesday. The ministry does not distinguish between civilians and combatants in its count, but the figures are viewed as the most reliable by the United Nations and other independent experts. The Israeli offensive, launched in response to Hamas' attack on southern Israel on October 7, 2023, has destroyed vast areas of Gaza, displaced around 90% of the population and fueled a catastrophic humanitarian crisis.